Good afternoon. Well, it's kind of still morning for me, but it's almost afternoon. This video is going to cover estimating to check your products and your quotients when you are multiplying or dividing decimals. When you multiply and divide whole numbers, you should have pretty good strategies for that right now. Now it's time to start working with some decimals, and a lot of times when you're placing that decimal point, it can get a little tricky. So instead of teaching you this kind of phrase to use, we're not going to worry about moving the decimal point. We're going to look at placing the decimal point using what we already know. But one of the first things that we can do is kind of have an idea of where we're going. So if we're multiplying 3 2/10, let's say we're multiplying that, so we're finding a part of, let's say, 1 9/10. All right. Looking at this at first, you might have some ideas of what you could do, but let's look at it this way. When we first start working with decimals, what's the first thing we kind of worked on? We start working on rounding. So 3 2/10, if we round out to the nearest whole, well, 2 is nowhere near being 5, so we're going to leave the 3 as 3 wholes. So now we have 3. And we're multiplying that by 1 9/10. Well, 1 9/10, you should clearly see that's almost 2. So we have 3 times 2. And I'm pretty sure you learned back in 3rd grade that 2 sets of 3 is 6. So when you actually use whatever strategy, if you use place value, you use the blocks, you multiply them as whole numbers and place the decimal, whatever it may be that you use, your product should be about 6. And it should be pretty close to 6 the way I'm looking at these numbers right now. If you get something and it's like 60 or 62 or 63, or even if it's like 63 hundredths, you've done something wrong with placing the decimal, so you need to go back and look at your places. All right, very simple. Just round to the nearest whole number and multiply. Well, it should be about 6, right? Let's look at dividing, and frankly, it's pretty much, we're looking at the same thing. So if you have 6 wholes, and let's say 6/10. Nah, scratch that. I want to go 6 wholes and 3/10. And let's say we're breaking that up into, I don't know, let's say we're breaking that into 9/10. All right, we're breaking that into 9/10. How many sets of 9/10 can we get from 63? 6 and 3/10. Well, 6 and 3/10 is about 6. 9/10 is about 1 whole. All right, that should be pretty obvious to you at this point in 5th grade that 9/10 is almost 1 whole. Well, what's 6 divided by 1? Well, 6 wholes. So when we look at breaking 6 and 3/10 into 9/10, groups of 9/10, you should be getting about 6 wholes. Okay, so when you actually divide it using whatever strategy you're using, you basically are just rounding to the nearest whole. Check and see what your quotient should be about. And frankly, when you divide these, you should have a pretty good idea where you can place the decimal point, because it should be about 6 wholes. All right, so if you divide these two numbers, let's say you draw a model and you get, 59. Well, it shouldn't be 59. It should, most likely you're going to place that, if this is what you get, if you get 59 here using your model, let's say you did the model correctly, looks like you just placed the decimal wrong. You pretty much have a good idea it would go right here. All right, that might still be wrong. Frankly, I think that is wrong just by looking at the problem, but you at least have a better shot of it there. So let's actually multiply that one out. 6 and 3/10. Boy, that is just ugly. It's very hard to draw with this pen with a mouse. 6 and 3/10. Let's see here. What is 63 divided by 9? 63 divided by 9. Well, I'm pretty sure that's 7. Well, let's think. Should that be 7/10? Should it be 7 wholes? Should it be 7D? I don't know. Well, yes, I do. 6 divided by 1 is 6, so this is most likely going to just be 7. As a matter of fact, let's just check that. I mean, yeah, you're not supposed to use a calculator, but let's see if my math is correct. Oh my goodness, look at how simple that division was. Well, I'm going to have a couple of practice problems at the end. Use estimation just to check and see what it would be if you estimate. You should probably have a pretty good idea. You can do a lot of mental math with this estimation. Very useful, especially for a problem like this.